Kaira, hearts of palm, which is the inside of the palm tree, you have to cut the tree down and you have to take out the inside, the heart. What bracha do you make on it? So you don't make a ha'etz, because the bracha ha'etz is Bairi Pri Ha'etz, who creates the fruit of the tree. The fruit of the tree would only be something that grows off the tree. If you're going to eat the actual tree, then you can't say Pri Ha'etz. However, you can still say Bairi Pri Hadama, because you're not eating the ground, you're eating something that grows off the ground, which happens to be, in this case, a tree. Or the inside of the tree, which, when it's young, is still edible. So, Kaira, the hearts of palm, Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, what bracha do you say on it? Bairi Pri Hadama, you say Bairi Pri Hadama, which we explained why that would make sense. And Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, Shahakolnia B'dvarei, that you say a shahakal on the hearts of palm. Do not take the halacha from this Gemara to your dining room table, because today it's possibly grown a little differently, and it actually depends on where it's grown and for what reason it's being grown. Okay, now the Gemara is going to repeat these two opinions, but it's not going to repeat it because just to be redundant. It's actually repeating it in order to explain each opinion. And the Gemara goes now and says, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says, Bairi Pri Hadama, that you say a Bairi Pri Hadama on the hearts of palm, Peirehu, because it's a fruit, it's something nice, it's edible. Why don't you say Hadama on it? It grows. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, Shakal Nia Bidvari, that you say a shakal on hearts of palm. What's the reason? Hayil v'seifa lahakshes, because in the end, Hayil is since. V'seifa lahakshes, in the end it's going to harden. Since it's going to get hard later on, so already now you cannot say a Bairi Pri Hadama on it. You need to say a shahakal. It's not considered a fruit, because right now, even though right now it's edible, but because in the future it's going to harden, it's not considered a fruit even at this point. Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda. Here we have a conversation. Shmuel tells to Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Yehuda is a student of Rav. Later on he becomes a student of Shmuel. Do not confuse Rabbi Yehuda with Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the editor of the Mishnah. Do not confuse him with Rabbi Yehuda who's quoted in the Mishnah. That's Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Lai. And don't confuse him with any of the other Rabbi Yehudas, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, etc., Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. This is a Rabbi Yehuda that's an Amayra, and his name is Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. He's the founder of the yeshiva in Pumbedisa. Shmuel appreciates him, and Shmuel calls him Shinina, sharp one. So this is in Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda. Shmuel tells Rabbi Yehuda, Shinina, sharp one. Actually, there's another translation for this, and Shinina, sharp one, means it's coming from the root here of shein, which is a tooth, which is sharp. But actually, the other translation is that he's calling him big tooth or buck teeth, and that would be a nickname for him. We find similar. Some of the Rishonim say that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha is the son of Rabbi Akiva, because Ben Azai calls Rabbi Akiva Kaireach, the bald one. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha would be the son of the bald one, and that would be giving him a name based on his appearance, which is a little surprising. In this commentary on Shinina is also surprising. I believe there's a Chavas Yair that discusses all of these terms and how to understand how it's possible that they would give someone a name like that, and if it's appropriate to call someone a name. This is not a lesson for each other, that we can start calling people by different figures that they have. So Shinina, sharp one, that's the easier way to translate it. Kavaseich mistabra. Like you, it makes sense. Now, what does it mean like you? That you say a hadama on hearts of palm. It makes sense like you. Why is he arguing? Well, maybe he's changing his mind. Tehatznain, because a radish, seifel hakshes, if you leave it in the ground, it will harden. Umavarchinan aleh, and the bracha on a radish is Bairi Pri Hadama. is a Bari Pri Adama. So the logic that I gave before, why hearts of palm should be shehakal, is because if you leave it, it's going to become the tree. It's going to become the actual wood, and therefore you can't make adama on it. That's not true, because a radish, if you leave it in the ground, it's a root, and it will also harden, and nevertheless it's adama. So that's not a real a compelling logic to change the bracha just because later on something's going to happen to it. I'm not sure if the radishes, those red radishes, I'm not sure what the name they have. I'm not sure if they will harden in the ground, but there are other types of radishes, even locally, that you can get daikon, and there's a black radish that's sometimes available. But whatever it is in the Gemara, there was a radish that hardened. And the bracha on that was hadama before it hardened. Now the Gemara interestingly says that Shmuel, that seems to be changing his mind and accepting Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that hearts of palm should be hadama, the Gemara says, V'lo, it's not so. Actually, Shmuel, you're right. It should be shehakal. And why? So what about a radish? A radish hardens in its hadama. The reason is because tznoin, a radish, not the inchi, people plant it, adaita de pugla, with intention for the tuber, the bulge, the thicker part, the wider part of the root, the ball, and that's in the root. That's the radish. But dikla, the palm tree, lay not the inchi, adaita de kaira. People do not plant the palm tree with intention to eat the palm tree. They plant it to eat the fruit of the palm tree, which I assume is dates or other types of palm. But to plant the tree just to cut it down to take out the inside, it will grow back. But that's not the reason why people would plant it. Now, if this is the logic, then possibly today, because they do farm hearts of palm, so then the bracha would possibly be hadama, so that would change. That's why I mentioned, don't just paskin straight from this Gemara, you have to see what the poskim say. Okay, now the Gemara asks a question. V'chol heicha, and everywhere. Heicha means where, and v'chol means all. So everywhere, deleinati inchi, that people do not plant adaita dehachi with intention for this. Hachi means this or so. Lei mevarchin ala, you don't make the appropriate bracha on it because people don't plant it for that. But we have a very interesting example. And v'arei tzlaf, but a caper bush. Capers are those little green things that sometimes they serve together with lox. That's actually the flower, and we call it the caper. And it grows on the caper bush. If you take a look at a picture of, if you go to the Kaisel, or Kotel, you'll see a bush that's growing between the rocks. That's actually a caper bush. They grow like very interesting places, and they actually do well there. They're not supposed to be watered much. So a caper bush, dinati inchi, that people planted, adaita de parcha, with intention to eat the flower, which is that green thing that we actually eat. Utanan, and it was taught in a Mishnah, al mine nitzpa, on the types of produce of a caper bush. Nitzpa and tzlaf. The tzlaf is the name of the tree, and the mine nitzpa are the produce that comes off the tree. So al ha'alin, on the leaves, which are edible. You assume it would be something like a lettuce or a grape leaf or something that could be served. V'ala tamaris, and also on the shoots. Tamaris could be shoots or capsules or different things, different types of translations. But one of the translations is shoots, which would mean that you're actually eating the young stems. So what bracha would you say on the leaves or the stems or the shoots? Aimer, you should say, Bayrei Pri Hadama. Even though it's a bush or a tree, nevertheless, the bracha on these two items is Hadama. V'al ha'v'yoinais, and on the berries, it's a small berry, v'ala kafrisin, and also on the flower buds, which is the ones that we're used to. What do you say, Oimer? He says, Baripriates, this is the real fruit. Now what we're seeing from here is that even though you're not planting the tree or the bush with intention to eat all of those items, nevertheless, the bracha on two of them are ha'etz, and the bracha on two of them are ha'adama. They don't get a shahakal just because you didn't plant it with that intention. So why by a hearts of palm should the bracha be shahakal just because you didn't plant it with the intention to eat the hearts of palm? The Gemara began this by saying that the intention why the caper bush is planted is adaita de parcha, with intention for the flower, and we're saying a ha'etz on the berries and the flowers, and the bayir piadama is on the leaves and on the shoots, and the question is coming from everything, all three of them, which is not the main intention. And even, in other words, even the Hadama is a question here, because we were taking the bracha of hearts of palm down to a shahakal because it wasn't planted for that intention. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is going to answer. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, tzlaf, a caper bush, nati inshi, people plant it, adaita deshusa, with intention for all the sprouts, all the growths. Anything that grows off it, people are planting, because why not harvest everything? But however, dikla, palm tree, loinati inshi, people do not plant it, adaita de kaira, with intention to eat the hearts of palm. And the reason is because when you eat the hearts of palm, you ruin the tree. But if I can get produce off a tree and without ruining it, then I have in mind everything that I could possibly get. I'm not going to throw things away, even though it may not be the main thing, but if I can get something from that, I'm going to use it. Now the Gemara concludes and says, V'yaf al gav, and even though the Kal say Shmuel the Rav Yehuda, even though Shmuel praised Rav Yehuda and said that it makes sense that we should say Ha'adama on hearts of palm, but Hilchasa Kavasei de Shmuel, the halacha would be like Shmuel, that hearts of palm are shehakal.